Shalom Aleichem. My name is Rabbi Assaf Bednarsh, and I made Aliyah with my family in 2004 from Brooklyn, New York, and we now live in Alon Shvut, a suburb of Yerushalayim, and I have the zchut, the tremendous opportunity to teach Torah in Eretz Yisrael at Yeshiva University's Israel Kollel in Bayit V'Gan. In the beginning of Parshat Lech Lecha, we read, Vayomer Hashem el Avram, Lech Lecha me'artzecha mimoladtecha mibeis avicha el ha'aretz asher areka. Hashem says to Avram, leave your household, your birthplace, leave your family, go to Eretz Yisrael, to the land I will show you. And Hashem promises to make him a great nation and through him to bless the entire world, a project which we, his descendants, are still continuing to this day. The Ramban, and following him, many of the Mefarshim, ask, why Vayomer Hashem el Avram lech lecha? Why did Hashem tell Avram, leave your home, your birthplace, go to the land of Canaan? The Torah, until now, in Parshat Bereshit and Noach, told us nothing substantive about the righteousness of Avram, about the accomplishments of Avram. Why did Hashem pick Avraham? From the Pshuto Shemakra, the simple language of the Chumash, makes it sound like Hashem picked Avram. He picked his name from a hat out of the clear blue and told him, here's a golden opportunity. Go to Eretz Yisrael and you will be father of the Jewish people. Why Avram? Why didn't anyone else get that opportunity? The Ramban has one answer. The Maharal in his Netzach Yisrael has another very, very important answer. But the Sfas Emes right here in this week's Parsha gives a fascinating, new, and challenging answer. He says perhaps the premise of the question was an unwarranted assumption. The Sfas Emes suggests that maybe Hashem told everyone, Lech lecha me'artzecha mi'uladtecha mibeis avicha. Hashem gave every single person in the world the opportunity, if he was willing to leave his comfort zone, to leave his homeland, to leave his family, to be distant from his familiar surroundings, and to move to Eretz Yisrael and to live there in service of Hashem, anyone could have been the father of the Jewish people. The difference is that Avram heard the offer. Avram seized the opportunity. Avram heard Hashem giving him this opportunity and took advantage of it, while others ignored the message. And Avram, who chose to listen to the message, is our forefather, is the forefather of the Jewish people. Nowadays, we live in a time where, according to the Sfas Emes, we are all faced with the same choice that Avram and his contemporaries were faced with. The message is there loud and clear for all of us to hear. Hashem is saying, Lech lecha me'artzecha mi'uladtecha mibeis avicha. The Chumash tells us, V'hotzeitzi v'hitzalti v'ga'alti v'lakachti. From the very beginning, our birth as a nation, from the very first Pesach Seder, Hashem told us, I will redeem you from Eretz Mitzrayim. I will take you from Galut to Geula. Why? Ve'heveiti etchem el haaretz. So I can bring you to Eretz Yisrael. For 40 years in the desert, the Jews remembered that all Hashem wanted of them was to have faith and come to Eretz Yisrael. You can't go more than a parak or two in the Torah without encountering Eretz Yisrael, the homeland of the Jewish people, the place where Hashem wanted us to live as the Jewish people, based on the Torah. We know that the poskim argue whether Yishiv Haaretz, settling Eretz Yisrael, is a mitzvah aseh d'oraita. Is that counted as one of the 248 biblical positive commandments or not? The Ramban counts it as one of the commandments. The Rambam, Maimonides, does not. But the very same Rambam, who does not count settling in the land of Israel as one of the 248 commandments, paskins, a halacha, not a drush, not sermonizing, not homiletics. The Rambam paskins, la halacha, that it is better to live in a city populated by Gentiles. It is better to live in a city full of pagan temples, in a pagan city in Eretz Yisrael, than in a Jewish city, in a frum city, in Chutz La'aretz. At one time, perhaps that was the choice our ancestors had. They could stay in their Jewish communities with good schools for their kids, with shuls, with opportunities for Jewish life, or they could make a long, perilous journey. Try to make it to Eretz Yisrael in the middle of a crusade, in the middle of a conquest, a place inhabited by people who are not friendly and welcoming to us, and certainly not friendly and welcoming to our Torah lifestyle. And even so, the Rambam paskins that it's better to go to Eretz Yisrael and live in the shadows of the churches and the pagan temples than to remain comfortable in Chutz La'aretz. But now, in our generation, we have the tremendous zechut that Hashem sent us a message. He said, Lech Lecha. He said, maybe that's a little too tough. Now, coming to Eretz Yisrael is an 11-hour flight. Settling here, no one said it was easy. There are challenges. Everything important in life is difficult, but it's not what it once was. The klita here, absorption in Israel, is not what it once was. And certainly we don't have to live in a city full of ovdei avodah zarah, of pagan worshippers. We can come to Eretz Yisrael and live. We can live in a city full of Israeli Jews. We can live in a city with many American Jews, wherever we feel comfortable. We can find jobs here. Maybe they pay as much as they do in America. Maybe they pay a little less than they do in America. We can find schools for our kids. And we can live here as part of the Jewish people in their homeland. We have the opportunity, and it's not easy, but it's not as hard as it once was. We have the opportunity to move here, to bring up our kids, so that my kids, the language they speak in the street, the language they speak in school, is Lashon HaKodesh, is the language of the Tanakh, is the language that Moshe Rabbeinu spoke, that Yoshua spoke, that David HaMelech spoke. When they learn Chumash in their native tongue in school, they learn about Ma'aras HaMachpelah, the burial place of our Avot V'Imahot. That's someplace which is a 20-minute drive from our house. When they finish learning Sefer Breshit in school, the school trip will take them to Ma'aras HaMachpelah to celebrate their Siyum at the place where it all happened. When they walk outside their house, they're looking around at the path Avram took on his way to the Akedah, at the places where Avram, Yitzchak, and Yaakov, and then David HaMelech in the beginning of his career shepherded their sheep. And when they finish Sefer Shemos and learn about the Mishkan, they'll take a class trip to the Kotel, which is someplace they visit all the time, which is almost the next town over. Because for kids growing up here, the Chumash, the Tanakh, is not a history book. It's where we live. We are living what it says in the Chumash. We're speaking the language of the Chumash. We're living in a state, in a country, where the legal holidays aren't Christmas and New Year's, where the legal holidays are Pesach, Shavuot, Sukkot, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, where we're living the way Hashem intended us to live. A mere 64 and a half years ago, Hashem gave us a tremendous, tremendous gift of Medinat Yisrael. But it wasn't a gift. It was a calling. That was Hashem's way of saying, Lech lecha me'artzecha mi'oladtecha mi'beis avicha. It's time. It's all here. It's waiting for you. The time has come to come back here and live in our homeland. And it's up to us whether we hear that message like Avram or ignore that message. And Eretz Yisrael, the message of Aliyah, is not just about me and my family. When my wife and I decided we were going to make Aliyah, we were going to raise our kids and build our home in this land, we weren't only thinking about ourselves, about what kind of society and culture our kids would grow up in, but we're thinking about the Jewish people. From what I've heard, a popular pastime nowadays is to debate whether or not we should say Reishit Tzmichat Ge'ulateinu every Shabbat in a Tefillah L'Shlom HaMedina. There are those who insist Reishit Tzmichat Ge'ulateinu. We know we must declare that this state, the historical era in which we live, is the beginning of the ultimate Ge'ula, is the first step towards Mashiach. And then there are those on the other side who say no. We must declare that this state is not a step towards Mashiach. Perhaps it's a step away, perhaps it is a step into nowhere in particular, but it is not Reishit Tzmichat Ge'ulateinu. The Talmidim of the Rav Yosef Dov Soloveitchik Zatzal, point out that both sides are wrong. According to the Hashkaf of the Torah, we don't know Hashem's plan. We don't know what Hashem has in store for us. We don't know what the future will bring. We don't know what is Reishit Tzmichat Ge'ulateinu and what isn't. Then what do we know? They explain that we know one thing, that whether or not this state, this era, whether or not today is Reishit Tzmichat Ge'ulateinu, doesn't depend on Hashem. It depends on us. Chazal tell us that the Jewish people were faced with a similar moment in history before. In the days of Ezra, in the days of Ezra, there was potential for the Mashiach, for the ultimate Geula, for the final Beit HaMikdash to be built, for the world to be brought to the state of perfection which Hashem intended for it. Or there was opportunity for an effort. Maybe they'd build a Mikdash, it would last a couple hundred years here or there, be overrun once or twice. What did that depend on? Chazal darshan, for a pasuk in Shir HaShirim, that it depended on us. Im delasi, im chomahi. If a couple of thousand stragglers follow Ezra up to Eretz Yisrael, which is what happened, then they would build something, they would accomplish something. But it would not be the beginning of the Geula. If all the Jewish people had gotten up, left their homes behind, which is difficult, left their jobs behind, which is difficult, left their familiar surroundings behind, and come to Eretz Yisrael with Ezra, that would have been the end of history. That would have been Reishit Tzmichat Ge'ulateinu. Whether or not we are living in the era of Reishit Tzmichat Ge'ulateinu is not a matter for debate, is not a matter for philosophical argumentation. It depends on our actions. If we come here, if we make it a beginning, then out of it will flourish the Geula. If we ignore it, if we don't hear the voice, if we ignore the message, then I don't know what will happen. When my wife and I got married, we thought, where do we want to raise our family? And What's our role in the Jewish people? Are we standing by? Are we going to watch history happen and then complain that it didn't work out the way we wanted? Or are we going to do something? Are we going to be part of history? Hashem told us in the Navi that the Geula comes as one family moves and another family hear Hashem's voice and come back to Eretz Yisrael and start the Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu. Ultimately, like everything in history, from Avram Avinu, through the Meraglim, through Bayit Rishon and Bayit Sheni to this very day, history is not something that we're supposed to be watching, commenting on, complaining about. History is something we're supposed to be making. It's our job to make history. And every Jew who makes the sacrifice, and it's certainly a sacrifice. He misses his family. He misses his lifestyle. It's hard adjusting to new surroundings. But every Jew who makes the sacrifice and comes to Eretz Yisrael finds for themselves and their family that the sacrifice was well worth it and pays off. And the reward of being able to bring up children and bring up a family in Eretz Yisrael outweighs any cost of the sacrifice and becomes a subject making history instead of watching it from the sidelines. And if every Jew who opened up a Chumash, who went to Shul on Parshat Lech Lecha, and heard Hashem tell Avram, Lech Lecha el ha'aretz asher areka, opened up their ears to hear the message and started planning to move to Eretz Yisrael, that would certainly bring about the Reshit Tzmichat Geulatenu. If every Jew, instead of complaining about all the things that are difficult in Eretz Yisrael, came here and worked on them, made them better and contributed, and made this country a stronger place economically, a stronger society religiously, a more idealistic community, then from there would certainly flourish the Geula. And we would merit to see the final realization of Hashem's promise to Avraham, Ve'escha l'goy gadol, va'avarecha, va'gadlo shemecha, ve'yeh bracha. May we see soon the blessing that Hashem promised to Avraham as we are a great nation in Eretz Yisrael, and may we become greater and greater as the Jews are melukatim echad echad Beit Yisrael, as one by one we return home from the Galut in time for the arrival of Mashiach Tzidkenu b'mheira v'yameinu.